Welcome. Alrighty. To another heart to heart conversation. Um, uh, my name is Jasmine Silva. I'm a provider here at Counseling of El Paso, and we are delighted to introduce Cristal Martinez Acosta. She will be uh, uh, conducting the presentation today on choices and control and and kind of like helping us and guiding us in navigating what is within our control and what is outside of our control as well. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about Cristal. She's a licensed professional counselor, supervisor, and a nationally certified counselor. She graduated with honors from UTEP with a BA in psychology and sociology. She then earned her MA in counseling and guidance with a 4.0 GPA and awarded outstanding graduate student from NMSU. She has extensive experience working with individuals and families who have been affected by traumatic experiences. And she's also trained in EMDR, motivational interviewing, and is the region's only level one trainer in parent-child interaction therapy. So we are super duper happy and proud and delighted to have Cristal presenting for the community today. This presentation is a special one because it's dedicated to teens and adults. Welcome, Cristal. Thank you for being here today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. This is a very short, kind of straight to the point presentation. Um, Part of what's important to understand here is that Counseling of El Paso, all of the practitioners here are trying to give information about how to cope with the difficulties that come along with experiencing the pandemic and what to do to cope in this collective trauma that we're experiencing. And so, part of what comes up a lot for all of us, including myself and family members and clients and other practitioners that I know, is the theme of kind of feeling anxiety about the uncertain future. So we don't really know what's going to happen from one day to the next in the pandemic. I know that a lot of you who are teenagers, young adults, um, some of you might be missing out on things like prom or graduation or sports or that last, senior game or being able to walk across the stage at the Don Haskins Center at UTEP to get your diploma or your degree. And so it's a difficult time because we're having to adjust to these changes that are occurring in our world. And so part of the issue that comes along with that is being worried about what else could be taken away from us or how else is the world going to be affected by this pandemic. And so today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about control. And so part of not the whole reason, but part of why people feel anxious sometimes is one, because of uncertainty. And when we have uncertainty, that typically means that we have a sense of loss of control over our lives. And I'm talking about control as in not controlling other people. We're also talking about control of ourselves and talking about control as power and empowerment. So being able to feel power, feel a sense of achievement for ourselves and over our own lives. And of course, right now, that's really difficult for a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. This pandemic is affecting the economy, our families, and sometimes it's a life or death situation. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that part later, and we'll include some of that in the exercise that we're going to do later today. But I wanted to introduce you to two concepts that are really important. One concept is called the internal locus of control. So what do we mean by internal? So internal means things that are within us, inside of us, a part of our being, and something that we are able to change or control. And we'll talk about some of those examples later. But what happens with internal control is that you feel a sense of, hey, I'm doing something good for my life. I feel like I'm achieving because of my hard work. For example, I did all of my homework assignments for this semester, and I studied really hard, and I read all of the assigned books and followed the syllabus, and I was able to get an A because of all of my efforts. So I got an A in this class. So that's an example of what internal locus of control might sound like. And then external locus of control, obviously the key word here is external, and that usually means from the outside. So when people have an external locus of control, what that means is they are basing their successes and their failures on things that are outside of them. So for example, somebody who has an external locus of control might say something like, and we'll take the same example as earlier, getting an A in the class. So maybe they might say something like, I got an A in this class just because I got lucky. Or I got an A in this class because the professor was being nice to me. And it doesn't really have anything to do with what they think about themselves or their efforts. So why is this important in understanding anxiety? So understanding anxiety and uncertainty and navigating this, when somebody has an internal locus of control, we're able to kind of fend off anxiety and depression. So people who have an internal locus of control, who kind of say, you know what, I do have some choice and some control over my life and what my choices are, report higher levels of happiness, lower levels of anxiety, and overall satisfaction in like jobs, work, career choices, things like that. People who have an external locus of control typically have higher levels of depression, anxiety, mood disorders, health issues, things like that, because what they're doing is they're kind of saying that these things are happening to me. These bad things always happen to me, or these things happen to me. I have no control over what happens to me. I have no control over my life. And it kind of shapes the way you view the world. And so because you feel like you have less choice, fate and luck are kind of the driving factors. And it's kind of like those things are responsible for our successes and our failures. So of course, if fate and luck and the outside world are to blame for our successes and our failures, then of course we're going to feel sad, we're going to feel anxious, and we're going to feel worthless, or we're going to feel different things. So what I'd like to do is really quickly just kind of show you an exercise to discover your internal locus of control, or to make that a little bit more clear for you. This is an exercise that I do sometimes with patients and clients. And of course, since this is a Facebook Live presentation, this exercise does not replace therapy or consultation or supervision or anything like that. That's just a disclaimer. So if in the advertisement for Counseling of El Paso, when they advertised this talk, they asked you to get a sheet of paper and a pen. So I have my Sharpie and I have my piece of paper. And so what you're gonna do is I'll give you a couple of seconds to get your paper and your pen ready so that you can follow along with me. You're going to draw a circle on the paper and try to make it somewhat large, right? Mine takes up like the whole paper. So I'll give you a second to do that. I'll play Jeopardy music in the background, just kidding. Okay, so we're gonna do that. And after you're done with the big circle, you're going to draw a smaller circle on the inside. So small-ish, not too small. You want to be able to fit some words inside of here. So it's going to look like a donut or a very big Cheerio. Okay, so this is a little diagram that represents the two loci or locus of control, right? So we have the internal locus of control and the external locus of control. So in the big circle, we're going to start with the big circle. I would like for you to write some things down that you don't have control over. So for example, I'm going to write down the weather. I don't know if you can see that. What else don't I have control over? I'm also putting, my dogs are barking outside. These are just examples. Another one could be a person. So in this example, I put like, my mom has a temper problem. Like maybe she has a short fuse. Maybe another one can be a situation that's happening in your family. So your parents are divorced. So go ahead and fill the circle with things on the outside that you don't have control over. Now, on the inside, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of connect the dots here. And we're going to put the things that we do have control over in these situations. So for the weather one, that one seems to be kind of like the easier example. In El Paso right now, it's pretty sunny and hot. If I were to go outside, I would probably, I don't know if people use umbrellas in El Paso. That's like, I don't know. I'm not judging you if you do, but I don't really ever see it unless the sun's really, bright. Or you're outside in a park for a long time. Okay, so I guess people do use umbrellas. So then what's in my control is whether I use an umbrella or not. So these connect to each other. So when you go through each of your outside circles, you're going to connect the dots to what you do have control over for each situation. The obvious one that I also forgot to put in here, I hope I spelled it right, is the coronavirus here. That one's pretty obvious. Okay, so for sunny weather, I have the choice whether I'm going to use an umbrella or not. If my mom has a temper problem, I cannot control her. I can yell at her and tell her to stop, right? But how do I know that she's going to pay attention to me and actually stop? I have no control over that. So my choices are, I can use like a coping skill, like go to my room, take a walk, choose to ignore her. I can do a lot of things for this particular situation, right? So that's connected there. If my parents are divorced, and obviously I can't do anything about that. I can act to possibly attempt to influence their decisions, but ultimately they're in control of themselves, and I cannot force them to, let's say, get back together or move across the country or whatever it is. So ultimately, it's my decision to, let's say I'm going to talk to my therapist about it. So I'm going to write here, I'm going to talk to my counselor so that I can start to process this and start to feel better about it. So that's something that's within my control. Let's see, if my dogs are barking, and let's say it's like 2 a.m., there's a couple of options here, right? If your dogs suddenly start barking at 2 a.m. and they don't usually bark at 2 a.m., it's a little freaky. I mean, you could possibly think that there's some sort of intruder in your home or like in your backyard or whatever it is. Or, you know, if you know your dogs and they always bark at 2 in the morning, then you could, you know, choose to ignore them. You could choose to get up and feed them. You can choose to put earplugs in your ears. In my case, I would put earplugs in my ears because my dogs like to bark whenever they want. So I want to keep sleeping, and that's something I have control over. So I'm going to put earplugs. There we go. There are the earplugs. Okay, so this little donut's coming together. And then for the coronavirus, this is obviously very subjective. Subjective means you're going to have your own individual response to what you can control. So for example, I will choose to wear a mask when I go out in public. Or you might put here like not go to Walmart or whatever it is that you choose. So the main thing to remember about the inner circle is that it's a choice. I'm trying to put it in a different color so that it stands out. So this middle circle is full of choices that you can make, personal choices that, you know, you ultimately don't have any control over any external situation or any external people. You might have some influence, right? Like I could try to convince my mom to go to therapy, or I can try to convince her to let me go out to the mall, or I can convince her to do whatever. But ultimately the choice is up to her because we cannot control any other individual or situation, and we can really only control ourselves. The other thing that I want to point out about this kind of exercise is that sometimes people in different situations have different choices. What do I mean by that? So these choices, for example, with the sunny weather and the umbrella, right? Like I can choose to wear an umbrella, I can choose to wear a hat. I have to have access to an umbrella, right? What if I don't have an umbrella in my house? Okay, so then I'm going to choose something different. What else is in my control? So sometimes people have to get creative about what they're going to do in their specific situation that is within your reach and within your means. So some of these things might cost money. Some of these things are really expensive. Like, I don't know, sometimes going to therapy can be expensive if you don't have insurance. Sometimes, you know, masks ran out at the store and we can't buy any. So then what are we going to do? We have to be creative with that. And so maybe you might not have earplugs to plug your ears from your dog's barking. So you can get creative with whatever is in your reach and within your means and within your personal locus of control. So here, this is everything that you personally can control and have access to. In here, it doesn't have to just be material things either. It can be like, in this example, it can be a coping skill, or it could even be like an attitude, right? So if, for example, my parents are divorced, I can choose to see the bright side in that. And I can be like, you know what? Hey, at least they're not fighting anymore. And you can kind of like reframe it that way. It just really depends on your situation because sometimes those things are not helpful, right? But a few things that you do have in your control are your mindset and your attitude and the way that you respond to people, either verbally or physically. And so that's kind of just the exercise that I wanted to walk you through. Let me see. So yeah, you can use this exercise if you're feeling stuck about a situation or sad about a situation. So for example, if let's say you're going through a breakup, we're going to do a different circle for that. So you're going to draw your donut or your Cheerio right here. And what is it that you had control over in the relationship? Or what is it that you now have control over now that the relationship is over? So I have control over whether I go outside and get some exercise. I can not isolate myself and reach out to my friends. So these are choices that you're making, actions that you're making, that can make the situation better, or things that you did to contribute to the situation. And so that's everything that's within your control. And then things that are outside of your control that may or may not help. Because external things can help, right? Like external, the locus of control. If you have an external locus of control, sometimes that can be helpful. So for example, if my friend tells me, you know what, you deserve better, I can choose to believe her. So that's within my locus of control. I can say, I choose to believe what you're telling me about me. But the act of her telling me something is kind of external. Does that make sense? So anyway, you can use this if you ever get stuck or have to make a decision, maybe, or you just want to do the exercise because, you know, sometimes we kind of tend to blame a lot on ourselves and feel helpless. And so when you go through this exercise, you're able to see, actually, I'm not helpless. Actually, I do have some choices, and there are actions that I can take to improve my situation or change the way I'm feeling about the situation. So I hope you enjoyed watching this instructional video. And I don't know if we have any questions or anything, but I'll be here. Or anything that I need to clarify. I don't know.
I did mine, Cristal. What do you think?
Oh, let me see it.
It's in there. I put the weather, people's choices, people's reactions, news, COVID-19, parents' mood, and just kind of like, well, these are the things that are inside of my control. So, yeah.
Yeah, that looks like a great control donut. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I was like,
yeah, what was it like? I mean, I don't know if you want to tell us like what it was like for you to go through the process.
right. And I think one of the things that I liked from the exercise is that it can help us kind of like remember, okay, wow, we do get overwhelmed by the outside, and then I really like what you were sharing about how it helps us re-empower and reclaim our power, because sometimes it can feel like an illusion, right? And sometimes it is, because people will come with force, or they will try to take away that power. But remembering this is what's actually within me, it actually helps us reconnect with our own resiliency too. So I'm like, yeah, I am doing good, and I'm heading in the right direction. So this is a very helpful exercise, Cristal. Thank you so much.
Awesome. No problem. My pleasure. Anytime.
Well, we're getting some good feedback, awesome feedback. In fact, they love the exercise, Cristal. I know you can't probably see it, but just so you
No, I
know,
can't see.
yeah,
Okay.
you're presenting right now, and people are very happy about they enjoy it. Feel free to ask questions or make comments if you feel comfortable. So yeah, working some likes, some floating likes in there.
Oh, cool. Awesome. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Yes. So one of the things that I guess I will make comments just as we're getting close to and then give people an opportunity to see if they want to like ask questions. Feel free to ask. If you are interested in working or you know of somebody who you would like to recommend Crystal to work with, feel free to offer her information. So her name's Cristal Martinez Acosta. Again, if they want to work with her, they can just call 915-209-1234. If you're interested, you can always share also our page, counseling of El Paso.com. All right. And then we will have additional presentations this week. So I will be presenting tomorrow. It's
Yay!
good. And I am like, woo, because it's the first time that we're doing solo presentations. So it's super courageous and brave of us. So yeah. So anyways, so
It
I'll be
really
doing
is, yeah.
it really is, right? And it's going to be for children and families. So I will be using some play in the activities. And then Guillermo Castañeda Jr., he's going to be presenting on Friday on coping with chronic pain and the power of relaxation, in case anybody wants to join that presentation as well. If you would like to sign up, we do have a newsletter, a weekly newsletter. All you have to do is go to our website. There is a place where it will say sign up here for the newsletter. We're going to be sharing like our blogs or educational resources that we are providing for the community. All you have to do is confirm your email and you'll be able to sign up for that. So yeah, let's see. I haven't seen any other questions on the feed. Well, I will say thank you so much. This was a wonderful presentation, Crystal, and once again, thank you so much for opening up your counseling heart to the community. We're very grateful for that.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you allowing me to share some things. And thanks to everybody who
Mm.
watched today.
Yes, most definitely. Feel free to share also, and we will stay connected then. All righty then. You take care. Bye.
Bye.